everybody, it's Jasmine here. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about what my day-to-day life is like with working during the coronavirus pandemic, as I work at a hospital, and so my life revolves quite a bit around the coronavirus right now. So this is going to be a little bit about myself and my co-workers and about the different jobs that we do and sort of how it feels to be working during this pandemic. Our day-to-day work is quite varied with all the corona-related tasks that need to be done. In a normal week before COVID-19, most of my day would be spent underground in our sterile package room. Now, however, because of the coronavirus, some days are spent away from the hospital, or at least spending more time above ground, moving deliveries of masks and disinfectant to our temporary Corona Coordination Centre. More frequently, our work has evolved in response to the deaths of people from COVID-19. We are the people that remove the personal belongings from the apartments of the deceased, as family members are not permitted to enter. We must take precautions to protect ourselves and others, as well as respect the wishes of the deceased loved ones. Here is what my day looks like. I wake up at 5 o'clock and go to work, where my colleagues and I sit and discuss the plan for the day. We print out the order list for what we call Corona kits. That is the supplies needed to protect nurses and doctors from COVID-19. These Corona kits usually include disinfectant, masks of two sorts. One is the IIR sort, which is just a cover for the mouth, preventing exposure from liquids, for example, spit. The second type is the FFP2, which filters the air, offering greater protection. Lastly, these kits can include some corona test kits. The amount of each item varies, but we deliver it in the hundreds of each item, except for the corona test kits, which we deliver as 50 at a time. After packing the supplies in our van, we are almost ready to drive out at around 7 a.m. to deliver to the elderly homes owned by my work. The last thing to check off is that we have our own personal protective equipment packed, as we will be emptying 3 apartments today. And so we head off into Stockholm City. We get to the first elderly home, where there is 1 apartment to empty. We are given the name of the deceased and their room number. We are shown where we will have to put the packed up personal belongings, which will later be picked up by the family. We go up to their floor, but before entering their room, we put on our own personal protective gear. First is the face mask. Second is the long-sleeved apron, then the visor, and lastly, gloves. We enter the room and decide what to pack first. Usually, we take the clothes first. We pack everything into bags and move everything into the apartment complex's corridor. Usually, this doesn't get too personal. However, a few times I have found it quite difficult. One time, a lady had presents that she had wrapped up for her grandchildren that she never got to give them. Another lady had owned a cat, and I didn't know where the cat was. The last thing we do is take the furniture because it's the heaviest. Usually we aren't allowed to wear our protective gear when moving the belongings to the pickup point. So we take off our gloves, apron, visor and face mask and disinfect our hands before putting on new gloves. Now we all move everything to the bottom floor. This takes less time as everything is packed up and we have a wagon with us. Usually it takes us about an hour to an hour and a half to empty 1 apartment. After it's finished, we remove our gloves and disinfect our hands once again. Now we drive to the next apartment complex, where there are 2 apartments to empty. Once all this is completed, we can now drive around the city to deliver the PPE and disinfectant to the elderly homes and to the home care workers. Overall, we spend about 3 hours driving, 5 hours inside emptying apartments or delivering the equipment. Then it's back to work to round off the day with our co-workers. The physical act of moving furniture and belongings is tiring, but beyond that there is an emotional stress that is felt more on some days than on others. One Friday I went home and I cried, but it was difficult for me to really understand and explain what I was feeling. Emotional and physical exhaustion can be like that, I suppose. Thankfully, my coworkers and I take turns with who is going to be doing that job. So I have 2 weeks emptying apartments and then 2 weeks where I just work at the hospital doing other things. I hope that the work we do makes the lives of the families easier. But one thing that I think about is that they're missing out on a huge part of the grieving process, which is going through the items and picking out which things you want to keep and going through where the person lived in the last days of their lives. We can't make that pain go away, but at least we can make sure that the deceased possessions are packed with care and returned to their family. My goal for this video is to communicate the extent to which COVID-19 affects people and the work that people do. We hear a lot about doctors and nurses, but the effect of COVID-19 is a lot further reaching. The limitations placed on movement and the enforcement of social distancing has made it difficult for the families of COVID-19 victims to complete the normal process that comes when someone passes away. The saddest part of all this is that these measures put in place didn't stop these victims from getting COVID-19. But even after their deaths, they are still restricted by the virus. I hope that this provides a deeper understanding of the impact of the coronavirus. And if you did find the video interesting, I ask that you share it further. That way you can help others see another side of the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you.